Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the logic and thought process and everything that goes into building custom documents using Formstack documents. One thing to note is you can use other form tools. You can use Google Forms or Airtable or Typeform or Jotform. There's a lot of form tools you can use. The reason that I like to use Formstack forms is because of how tightly integrated it is with Formstack documents. So when my end product is going to be a document, I really like to use Formstack documents and forms. Unless there's some reason that I can't achieve what I need to with Formstack forms, in which case I'm looking elsewhere. Maybe I'm looking at Jotform or Typeform, but otherwise the integration is so tight that it's great. So let's just first quick dive in. This is an internal tool that people at a company are going to use to drive the generation of a document. So we are asking them questions and asking them to fill out a form that will then drive certain pages of a document to be included or not included. So you can see here, obviously a company name is that if you're familiar with document automation or Formstack, we can kind of insert these variables throughout the document. But right off the bat, we're asking, in which pages effectively, which sections do you want to include? Now there's more logic to the form. So you can see we've got more sections and we've got different options on our form based on what they've selected. So there's actually a lot going on in this form as well. But the idea here is that everything that someone is filling in on this form is then going to be used to drive the generation of a document that's fully tailored to exactly what they need. So one thing I do want to point out is we don't just have to have yes, no, or text boxes to drive that document generation. We can use numbers, we can use different logic, we can use drop downs, checkboxes, radios. We've got a lot of different options at our disposal. So that's the start, is creating a form that people can fill out that will then drive which sections and which pages and which information. So that's kind of the first step, is creating that form. And I'm going to stay a little high level in this video, not go into how to make a form or how to hook up the form and the document, but more the thinking behind it. So we've created our form, and all of these inputs on the form are going to drive the document. But then what we have is actually, this is a PowerPoint. And the reason that I like to use PowerPoint when it comes to Formstack documents is because of layout. With a PowerPoint, I can do whatever I want from a presentation standpoint, and I can move things and place them dynamically wherever I want to on the screen, and they're just going to show up there, and we're just going to insert our information right there. This includes text, but it also can include images. So if you want images dynamically placed, we've actually got another tutorial on this, where you can use logic in the images, or you can use logic in the document to show or hide images, and then you actually can have quite a custom document. So that's why I like to use PowerPoint, is because of the presentational aspect of it. But the next thing I want to show you is I've created a table here, and there's a lot going on. I've made up all of these variables, but all of these variables are going to map to one of the questions in our form. So who's the medical carrier, who's the HSA carrier, who's the FSA carrier. These all map to questions in our form, and then I can insert this information in there. But if you remember, at the beginning of the form, we said, hey, tick all the boxes that have for the benefits that you want to include in this case. So what I'm actually doing is I'm dynamically generating this table, and I'm saying, if you have dental insurance and you want dental insurance to be included in this form, I'll just jump back to this document quick. If you remember all these tick boxes, right? These check boxes. So I want to include the HSA and the FSA and the dental. So I'm including all these things. So then when it gets to my document, I'm saying, if the HSA is there, right? If it's not empty, then include this row of the table. This table if function in Formstack Documents allows me to dynamically show or hide this table row. So if they don't want an HSA or they don't have an HSA, just this whole row does not get generated dynamically. And so this table will expand and contract with whatever people have inserted. So that's one thing I want to point out, is that you can do dynamic tables and then you can insert stuff into the tables. And so that's really powerful. But if we keep moving here, we can see that I also have this slide if function. So if you remember that I had that slider that was showing how many medical plans we had. Well, what I'm saying here is, if the number of medical plans count equals 4, then show this slide. Otherwise, if it doesn't equal 4, I'm not going to show this slide. So there's actually other slides that have 3 columns and 2 columns and 1 column. So what I'm doing is I'm building out this big document that has all of these sheets, and then based on sheets and sections, and then based on what people fill in, I'm dynamically generating and hiding or showing or creating tables on the fly, inserting different information. And so what it allows you to do is it allows the end user to fill in a form and then basically just receive a document that has all of the information they need. The other thing that I want to show is we've got the slide if, where we're using, the logical operator there, say if it equals 4, but we can also say if it equals a string of text. But then also there's this stri. It's this function basically says, I'm going to search in this variable that I've passed through, and this is mapped to one of the form submission, the form field. And I'm going to look for the words open access. And if open access is anywhere in this string of variables, or this variable string, then I'm going to include that. Then that's true. So it's looking for a substring almost. The way that this comes in handy is when this select all benefits to be included in the book list, when this gets passed through to Formstack Documents, it's just a big chunk of text, really. So it's there's new lines for every line, but it doesn't come through as 10 different items. It comes through as one item that's got that's just a big text field. The check all text does not come through, just a kind of a note. But so all of this stuff comes through. And so what we can do is we can search this. That's why we would use that function, that str. I don't know how to pronounce that. If anyone can tell me how to pronounce that, that'd be great. So basically what we can do is we use that function to then look inside. So if you've had a multi-select, we look inside that text to see if that exists anywhere. So that's a powerful function that we can use to help us. Not only, if we wanted to, we could show a slide based on that with the slide if function, or we can just show sections of text. Because if this isn't true, then none of, if open access isn't included, then effectively what happens is open access doesn't get printed. So that's how that works. So just want to kind of take you through the thought process on that. There you create a form, and the thinking is every response to that form is going to either drive a piece of data that is included in the document, or it's going to drive whether or not a page or a section is included in the document. And then you build your form. And then I actually, when it comes to PowerPoint, I don't like to use the Formstack online PowerPoint generator. It's too finicky. So what I do is I come into PowerPoint. I've got a Mac. If you're on a Mac, you can use Keynote. You can use Keynote and then save it out as a PowerPoint. I actually just downloaded PowerPoint for Mac, and so I use that. And then what you do is you just upload that document. Any variables that you have in your document, once you load it up, Formstack Documents is going to look through your document. It's going to find all the variables. And then when you sync Formstack Forms and Formstack Documents, you'll see in Formstack Forms, you'll see a whole list of all of your variables that are in the document that you're syncing with. And then you just map it. So it's really quite simple. I can actually show you that try to show you that real quick. So in your Formstack Forms, you go to your settings, you go to your Formstack Documents, you'll have to turn on this integration, but then what you'll see is you'll be able to enter in your API key, and you'll link up your forms and your documents. You'll choose the document that you're going to populate with this form. And then when you refresh the fields, all of the fields that are in your document will show up. And so you can see here, I've got a ton of fields. Because what's happening is really every one of the questions is driving a section. We're inserting it into the document somewhere. And so you can really, as you can see here, you can build some really dynamic documents that can save your team and yourself a lot of time. So that's the thinking. Hopefully that helps. Let us know if you have any questions.